Audio Jungle.
Good evening and welcome to NewsHour. I am David Patrick Kamara. Coming up in this edition of NewsHour, SLPP condemns and disassociates itself from hate speeches by any of its supporters. Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation holds discussion with partners on production of a third cycle of Universal Periodic Review report. And Magistrate Mark Geba grants bail to miner and feeder road contractor allegedly found in possession of arms and ammunition. Those were the headlines, but first, this coronavirus preventive message. Welcome back. Our first story tonight, the Secretariat of the Sierra Leone People's Party is concerned about the ugly spate of incendiary and hate speeches, mostly broadcast through social media channels, especially WhatsApp. The party is also aware of similar messages similarly coming from their supporters. The National Executive wishes to make it known that it condemns unequivocally and unreservedly all forms of hate and incendiary statements aimed at undermining the peace and serenity of the country and its citizens. The party wishes to distance itself completely from the hate speeches broadcast by some of its overzealous supporters directed at the APC or some of its members in an audio shared on social media on Monday the 24th of August 2020. The party will fully investigate and take stringent disciplinary action against any of its members who is found wanting of making any incendiary or hate comments which has the tendency of causing discord in the country. Hate and incendiary statements are alien to the SLPP and do not reflect the one country, one party motto of the esteemed party. The SLPP has always prided itself on its democratic credentials and respect for the rule of law and will continue in that direction. The SLPP wants all its supporters and leaders of support groups to refrain from reacting in like manner to any form of provocation by members of the opposition. As the ruling party, their aim is to work in tandem with government to deliver on the manifesto promises they made to the people of the country in the 2018 elections. The party seeks to promote unity and inclusiveness in national politics and detest all forms of insecurity, as the government will not allow anyone or group of persons to derail state governance. The party urges all citizens to continue their normal businesses as the security of the state is guaranteed. The Universal Periodic Review is an instrument which involves the analysis of human rights records of all United Nations member states. The state-driven process under the auspices of the Human Rights Council provides the opportunity for each state to declare what actions they have taken to improve the human rights situation in the country and to fulfill its human rights obligations. As Sierra Leone is a member of the State of the United Nations General Assembly, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has a discussion with partners on the third cycle of Universal Periodic Review reports. Zulayatu Hamid witnessed the discussions and sent in this report.
The assessment of human rights conditions in any country is conducted in a 4-year span by the Human Rights Council. Sierra Leone is a member of the Human Rights Council under the Geneva Convention. The Geneva Convention made a total of 208 human rights recommendations for Sierra Leone. However, the country accepted 177. Among 177, the government of Sierra Leone indicated that 37 were noted for implementation in the country. These statistics, according to the Director of Legal Affairs and International Conventions, Winston Tebe Yakuba, confirm that progress has been made by partners in adhering to the human rights conditions as stated by the Geneva Conventions. However, the director stated that there are loopholes which needed to be given a comprehensive overview of the human rights conditions in Sierra Leone.
This report includes the state report submitted by the government itself, the summary of United Nations information compiled by the Office of the International High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, of information contained in the reports of treaty bodies, special procedures, and other relevant official United Nations documents, and finally, a summary of stakeholders' information prepared by civil society, NGOs, and national human rights institutions, and compiled by the OHCHR.
The Universal Periodic Review report will be submitted in 2021 to the Human Rights Council after the stakeholders may have compiled a comprehensive report for Sierra Leone. The report is significant because it indicates steps the government of Sierra Leone has taken in addressing the 177 recommendations. These recommendations will be a yardstick for other member states to judge and accept the candidature to serve in the Human Rights Council. The Deputy Director, Legal Affairs and International Convention, Max Charlie, said upon completion, the report would further highlight progress made in terms of the status of human rights in Sierra Leone, as some of these criteria give leverage to serve on the Human Rights Council.
So we need those indicators. So when you are obliging the ministry with the status of implementation, we require MDAs, or we urge colleagues to also bring to the attention of the ministry those indicators.
All MDAs in Sierra Leone are expected to send in their reports latest October 2020 for the submission in Geneva, February 2021.
A minor and feeder roads contractor allegedly found in possession of arms and ammunition, including one AK-47 rifle and 6 magazines, each rounds containing 30 rounds. 175 pieces of assorted live rounds at Wilkins Road has been granted 150 million yuans bail. Ali Koblo Koroma made his second appearance at the Panema Road Magistrate Court No. 2, presided over by Magistrate Mark Geba, for 3 counts charge of unlawful possession of arms and ammunition. Amina Shinani Brahma has more.
Testifying as prosecution witness 1, Captain James A. Momo said he and his team were conducting a night patrol at the eastern part of Freetown when he received information from Colonel Posowa to conduct a search at Mako Merchant Office situated at Lottie Drive off Wilkins Road, where they met one AK security guard securing the compound. Captain James A. Momo said though the AK security guard severally refused to open the gate, they later gained entrance into the premises and conducted a search in the house and discovered the above firearms and fake notes of 100 United States dollars bills, mercury water, and one box containing A4 papers. Following the discovery, according to Captain James A. Momo, they informed the police who came and took over the search, adding it was during police investigation the accused Ali Koblo Kuruma was apprehended. According to evidence, the accused Ali Koblo Kuruma is the owner of Mako Merchant Office at Lottie Drive off Wilkins Road, where the one AK-47 rifle with 6 magazines, each containing 30 rounds, 175 pieces of assorted live rounds, ammunitions, and suspected banknotes of 100 United States dollars bills were discovered on Thursday, 30th July 2020. The bail application by lawyer Claude Campbell, representing the accused, was objected to by the prosecutor, Inspector Abdul Tijan Bangura, with an affidavit in opposition on the grounds of the gravity and prevalence of the alleged offense and the likelihood of the accused jumping bail. The matter continues on Friday, 4th September 2020. SLBC News, Amina Shnyande Ibrahima.
The Deputy General Manager, Guaranty Trust Bank, Patrick Ekuneke, has said that the launch of the 3737 services will ease the difficulties of financial transaction for many. Joseph Ture witnessed the ceremony at the Guaranty Trust Bank headquarters in Freetown and now reports.
Queuing in banking halls and elsewhere to do financial transactions seem very frustrating for many, especially during emergency period like this. Many find it difficult to transact banking services from home or anywhere at their convenient time. It is against this backdrop the Guaranty Trust Bank has launched the 3737 to usher a transitional evolution in its financial services in the country.
That 3737 hash is a mobile banking application whereby with the use of your mobile phone without the need for an internet service, and you do not need necessarily a smartphone, you can conduct your banking services in the comfort of your home or your office or wherever you may be. Anywhere you have telecommunication service on your SIM card in the Dokusa kind of Sierra Leone, urban or rural area, you can access these services.
He added, the service is very secured against frauds, even though other staff of the entity were assertive of the benefits of the service to majority of Sierra Leoneans. Its sustainability and extension to other parts of the country are what many would yearn for. SLBC, Joseph Ture reporting.
The African Regional Certificate Commission has on Tuesday declared the continent free from wild polio. Polio is a virus which spreads from person to person, usually through contaminated water. It can lead to paralysis by attacking the nervous system. Polio usually affects children under 5, sometimes leading to irreversible paralysis. Death can occur when breathing muscles are affected by the paralysis. Till now, there is no cure, but polio vaccine can protect children from the disease for life. More than 95% of Africa's population has now been immunized. But what does this declaration mean to Sierra Leone? Deputy Program Manager for Expanded Program on Immunization, EPI, Ministry of Health, Dr. Linda Farmer, was in our studios earlier and answered this question and some others.
We want to emphasize the fact of washing your hands. Parents and caregivers washing the hands of children and even themselves after seeing to the children. So hand washing, hand hygiene, and of course access to clean water, because these are still environmental issues. So those are some of the ways we can kind of continue to maintain this achievement. Now to the other question wherein you said, what are the mechanisms in place for us to maintain? The country has a very robust surveillance system right across. So it's not just in Freetown. Every district health management team has a surveillance pillar, and all the health facilities across the country know that they should report their reportable diseases. So there's a reporting system. So we are keeping an eye, and even for us, the community, we are still encouraging people to continue to take the children for vaccination. And of course, the community, if you see a child with just acute flaccid paralysis, you should immediately alert the nearest health facility.
Okay, are there any possibilities for the emergence of polio? And if so, what are the measures you have put in place to ensure it doesn't spread?
There is a great possibility. So that is why the fight is not over, because you don't want to achieve a milestone and you digress again. We don't want that to happen to us as a country and even to the region, in the African region. So what we are encouraging parents and caregivers is the eradication means there is zero polio. It doesn't mean the virus is dead. It's just that there is no reported case of polio for a certain number of years. But the virus is still in our environment, and there is vaccine. It's preventable. Polio is preventable. So we are still continuing to beg healthcare and caregivers, mothers, community people, religious people, because it is everybody's fight, even the media, to continue educating people to continue taking their children for vaccination, okay, so as to maintain this status.
Okay, finally, is that a challenge for you working there, for parents to take their children for vaccine?
Well,
because of myths and misconceptions.
Yes, we still have some misconceptions, and I want to use this opportunity to kind of clear the air to those who are listening and to those who will be opportune to listen. Polio is not caused by witchcraft. Polio is not caused by the pregnant woman washing outside at night. Polio is not caused by the wife of the pregnant woman having illegal affair or being unfaithful or infidelity. Polio is not caused by that. So we want to continue educating people. Polio is a virus, just like we have coronavirus. Polio is a virus, and we cannot see them with our eyes. And we want to continue the hand washing hygiene. And we want to continue to ask parents and caregivers to continue, even religious people, tell your congregation to continue having good healthy habits, going to the clinic to take vaccinations for the children.
She is the Deputy Programs Manager for Expanded Program on Immunization EPI, Ministry of Health, Dr. Linda Farmer. The Secretary to the Vice President, Baba Fortune, has emphasized that the role of the board is to provide effective oversight and strategic advisory to the management team of NACSA. He was speaking at the installation of the newly appointed chairman and members of the board of directors for NACSA at the Golden Tulip, Aberdeen. Thomas Neal reports.
NACSA was established by an Act of Parliament in 2001. That act was amended in 2008 and further amendments were done in 2015. With the enactment of the 2019 Act, a new board of directors has been appointed to meet the stipulation contained therein. It is on this basis that staff and well-wishers witnessed the formal installation of the chair and members of the board of directors of NACSA, who have recently been appointed by His Excellency the President, acting under the provisions of Section 3(1) to 3 of the NACSA Act 2019. Secretary to the Vice President, Baba Fortune, said government is committed to transparency and accountability in corporate governance and called on them to study and strictly adhere to the laid-down functions in the NACSA Act that have clearly defined the roles and responsibilities of the board members. He said it was the capacities of the new board members to deliver on their mandate, as they have no doubt that the professional pedigree of the members of the board, their wealth of experience and robust networks will be brought towards achieving desired results.
And subject to the approval of Parliament of the two members, I now declare formally that the members that have gone through Parliament have now been installed into office and the board is duly constituted.
Mr. Fortune pointed out that as per mandate, the office of the Vice President will continue to maintain a robust supervisory role. The Chairman Board of Directors, NACSA, Paramount Chief Fode Musa, thanked President Bio for appointing them to contribute to national development, adding that they will live up to expectations and demands of government. He said government depends on the Commission to carry out development in every part of the country and therefore must step up so that they succeed during their tenure.
The head of state
the President of this Republic, the retired Brigadier Dr. Julius Maada Bio, has selected you. Imagine the confidence he has reposed in you. That is what you have to keep to. If you fall far along the line, then you have embarrassed him. You have put him to shame.
The Commissioner NACSA, Abubakar Kokofele, said the membership of the board is carefully drawn from seasoned administrators and eminent personalities that will inspire confidence and trust from other stakeholders that they will be working with. It is expected that the chairman and members of the board develop a cohesive team with a view to providing a contemporary governance and leadership that the Commission deserves. For News Hour in Freetown, Thomas Lee reports.
The National Youth Commission has completed a roundup trip to Koinadugu, Falaba and Kono districts in a bid to strengthen technical vocational education training centers in the regions. The trip was to consult youth and TVET stakeholders in order to bring out unresolved challenges around the improper operations of the skills empowerment institutions. Aminata Fofona went along with the commission and now reports.
This is the Government Technical Institute based in Kabala for Koinadugu district. We've been told there is a high demand for skills training by youths in the district, but the school cannot match up to it due to some operational constraints caused by inadequate financial support, especially for a facility that is underwhelmed with teaching and learning materials to facilitate knowledge impartation and skills acquisition. Principal of the school, Mabakagbo, said computers, accommodation for trainers, and a generator for electricity supply are added challenges they face. With the intervention of government through the National Youth Commission and all non-governmental organizations, effectiveness for poverty alleviation is his assurance.
This stigma of body distance should be a thing of the past. There's no way to go out of poverty. Seek education. You want to improve your life? Seek it to whatever level, and not only the sake of having education, but quality education. Education does matter.
The youth chairman of Koinadugu district, Sheku Koma, is afraid they would be plunged into being misused due to their lack of a skills acquisition center as other parts of the country. Sheku said most of the youth who had completed their secondary education could not afford to continue, but he is optimistic vocational skills training are a perfect alternative for self-reliance if provided the opportunity and supported.
As young people, let's try to fight for sustainability and independence. Let us just wait for government support and wait for organization support. Let's start on our own. Tomorrow, support will come from the government.
The National Youth Commissioner, Gulukata, has however assured them of a solution to some of the challenges highlighted because government, he said, is committed to building the middle-level manpower through technical and vocational education.
The whole idea is to build the capacities of young people to become agripreneurs. To be able to be outgrowers themselves and develop their own capacities.
Human capital development is a top priority in the bill-led New Direction administration, particularly for gainful employment in the dynamic job market, which will help address the high national youth unemployment rates. SLBC News, Aminata Fofana.
The validation of the Sierra Leone trade strategy has ended in Freetown. Facilitated by the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the strategy is aimed at positioning the country to effectively implement the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which was signed recently to boost intercontinental trade. Mariama Suma was at the workshop held at the Atlantic Lonely Hotel and now reports.
Trade is a foundational catalyst for development, and countries that are open to international trade attract more investments, grow faster, be more innovative, and create formal, well-paying employment. The national trade strategy is therefore an opportunity for Sierra Leone to redress the role trade plays in its national development. In the last decade, Sierra Leone has pursued an international trade agenda participating increasingly in the multilateral negotiations as well as preferential trade arrangements. This national trade strategy for Sierra Leone is aimed at enhancing both the country's national trade capacity and targeting a niche in the global trade system. The government of Sierra Leone recently launched a medium-term national development plan covering 7 policy clusters from 2019 to 2023, which however made little explicit reference to trade despite its clear contribution to the goals and targets of such plan for national growth. According to the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Reverend Abraham Cisse Jones, the National Trade Strategy will contribute to the medium-term National Development Plan by providing a means for trade diversification for economic growth. The aid roadmap, he added, will support inclusive trade and women's empowerment, improve infrastructure and economic competitiveness.
The trade strategy is like the roadmap for trade in Sierra Leone. It's historic because, to the best of my knowledge, since the existence of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, we have never had a strategy to define trade in Sierra Leone. So this is the very first effort we are making as a government to define a strategy like a roadmap. For example, somebody has promised that you will be able to find diamonds in Kono, and you are here in Freetown. You are some kind of a but you have an interest. Just to go to Kono, you can get lost.
Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Augustine Sasheku, informed the gathering that the strategy will help to coordinate and build the foundations for the Ministry of Trade and Industry and trade stakeholders to effectively articulate and deliver trade policies that contribute to the vision and help addressing the trade implications of COVID-19.
Sierra Leone is very rich in natural resources. It also has huge agricultural potentials. But what we lack now is the added advantage. How do you harness it? And that is the technology that we need, the machinery and equipment we need, and also the human capital, the competencies. So this strategy will identify those areas that we need to develop, be it in the area of entrepreneurship, be it in the area of technology, be it in the area of infrastructure, so that when we are able to provide all of these interventions, it means we can now be in the position to harness our natural resources, our natural endowment.
Coordinator of the African Trade Policy Center at the United Nations Economic Agency, David Luke, said, for Sierra Leone to take advantage of these markets, among many others, the regulatory framework needs greater predictability, better mechanisms for dialogue with the private sector should be in place, and trade-related infrastructure needs to be improved. Mr. Luke said with the launch of the African Continent Free Trade Area, Sierra Leone has at hand a tremendous opportunity to reposition trade in the West African nation for a new era in African trade integration. For SLBC News, Maria Masuma reporting.
A stakeholders consultation with government agencies and civil society organizations is underway in Freetown for the production of a shadow report on the third cycle of the Universal Periodic Review. The consultations, according to the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission, Patricia Nasu Dandema, will help the Commission to develop a roadmap and strategy for the implementation of the UPR recommendations to Sierra Leone. Emmanuel Alfred Samora witnessed the opening of the process on Tuesday the 25th of August at the special premises in Freetown and now reports.
The roundtable engagement was geared towards sharing the Universal Periodic Review matrix prepared by Human Rights Commission to collect information from various ministries, departments and agencies with respect to measures and effort taken by them in the implementation of the recommendations targeted at the MDs. The last review process was done in 2016 and 208 recommendations were profiled, which the government accepted only 177, remaining 31. Chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone, Patricia Nasu Dandema, said the ongoing review will be robust and will give all actors the opportunities to express honest views on national human rights issues.
I state that the UPR review process is one that does not take into consideration whether a country is a state party to a particular covenant, convention, or protocol before it is assessed. It's a process where countries do not escape, letting the whole world know the extent to which states have been committed to human rights has obligations of respecting, protecting, and fulfilling human rights. This process also gives the states the opportunity to assess one another and make recommendations.
Country representative of UNDP, Dr. Samuel Doe, encouraged participants to openly retrospect the progress made towards the implementation of the 177 recommendations from the second peer review exercise.
UNDP strongly values this interactive and consultative process, which I'm sure will inform the preparation of the Commission's shadow report. It will also serve as a reference point for the preparation of the State report to support the third cycle review process in Geneva. I would therefore encourage all of you to invest the time and knowledge productively during this session.
Chargé d'affaires of the Embassy of Ireland, Dea Courtney, recalled human rights as a critical yardstick in sustainable development, which she said Sierra Leone is working towards achieving.
We've seen some very encouraging moves in Sierra Leone despite the ongoing crisis. We've seen the removal of criminal libel provisions from law. We've seen a continued prioritization of the right to education by government and non-governmental organizations working together to make sure that schools can reopen. And civil society organizations are working as hard as ever, if not harder, to promote and defend human rights.
Speaking on the role civil societies have played in the different reviews held so far, the National Coordinator of Civil Society, UPR Monitoring Group Sierra Leone, Sulaiman Jabati, said they have highlighted 7 thematic areas such as the review of labor laws, high rate of discrimination, injustice and other things. Mr. Jabati pledged their absolute support towards the successful outcome of the report. The said Shadow Universal Periodic Review report for Sierra Leone is to be released by October of this year. Emmanuel Alfred Samoa, SLBC Freetown.
The Sierra Leone Police has, in a press release published over the weekend, warned that civilian population to refrain from putting on military and police uniform as camouflage. As Joseph Toure reports, the pattern of people putting on such camouflage is becoming a norm.
This video of a young man in police net is one among several instances in recent times that have impersonated police and military officers. And some people have confirmed off record, though, instances of certain individuals in police or military camouflage who have extorted or robbed innocent citizens. But whenever such acts are committed, the public blame the security forces for the obvious fact that these items are customized for the exclusive use by their personnel and prohibited by law against any civilian use, especially in public. Therefore, many have raised concerns about the police and military stance in combating such vices in the society.
So this is why we've said, if you know you are not a policeman, you put on a police uniform. If you know you are not a military man, don't put on a military fatigue. If you do, we are impersonating. We don't want to confuse us because sometimes when people are either putting on police uniform or military uniform, they tend to behave as such. Sometimes you can even see the excesses. They will cross the line.
We are not supposed to be putting on military uniforms or anything that resembles, what the military wear, or even the SLP, the Sierra Leone Police. Because when they go out at night and commit offenses, that will cast an impression among the populace that soldiers and police, people whom we depend on for our security, they have begun.
The sale of these security forces related apparels, particularly within the central business districts of Freetown and other major towns across the country, is at alarming rates. But Sierra Leone operates a free market economy in spite of the legal provisions prohibiting the local manufacturing, importation and sales of police and military products by non-approved persons or establishments.
If you are importing, for example, you're having a contract with the military, they ask you to bring or to supply a set of uniforms. You can. But other than that, you cannot import them. to Sierra Leone. Who do you want to send? Who do you want to give those uniforms to? Are you raising another army? Or are you raising another police force? We should be having one army. So if we allow people to be importing as they wish, I mean it's like they are like raising another army. We should be having two armies. We have one that is in focus of the armed forces, AXLAF, and then police.
In this case, there is a law. If people want to sell military gears and they think the law is not correct, what is in the constitution is wrong, there is a way to challenge it. We are just going by the law. The law says, don't do it. Okay? I am not the one, this is not me saying it. It is the law. It is in the constitution. We don't do it, and we must abide by it as peaceful citizens.
The press release, according to the police, is a mere caution, however. Whether punitive actions of any type would be instituted later against defaulters is the crucial question many Sierra Leoneans have been left to ask. SLBC, Joseph Toure reporting.
Meanwhile, the Office of National Security has in a press release said that from intelligence gathered, some individuals have been making pronouncements that could disrupt the peace and stability in the country. The security sector has, however, assured the public that they are committed to citizens and the integrity of the country. They also encourage all to remain calm, law-abiding, and report any suspicious activity that could undermine national security. The security sector, in the release dated 24th of August 2020, also assured the public of being in full control and encourage people to go out about their normal businesses without any alarm. Spokesman of the Office of National Security, Abdul Karim, was in our New England studios, and he explained the rationale for such a release to our Good Morning Sierra Leone team.
We are concerned, but we shouldn't be alarmed. That has been clearly stated in the press release. That yes, we know that the intention of the people sending incendiary messages, sending hate speeches, is to present a false semblance of insecurity, a false sense of disunity among the security sector players. This press release is meant to educate the public and to dissuade their mind from the lies that people continue to peddle. These are meant only to present a situation as if there is a problem in the country. But you and I know, and we also want this to be known to the international community, that it's a peaceful country that we are having. It's a country of laws, and it is expected that people should function within the ambit of the law. So this press release, part of our broader mandate as a sector, is to provide an enabling environment where people will go about their normal activities, their day-to-day activities. And in this context, to be able to achieve that broader mandate, we have to get the public informed about what we're doing, how we are doing it, and so on and so forth. The press release has also stated or appealed to members of the public to remain law-abiding and to report any form of suspicious activity that they think has a tendency to disrupt the peace and security of Sierra Leone. To be able to do that, you asked which channel. There is a National Situation Room. The National Situation Room is a conduit for information gathering, analysis, and dissemination onto the relevant authorities. So there is a toll-free line, 119 toll-free line. We encourage the public to make use of that. But to caution them that do not make vexatious reports. Do not report because you want to lie at somebody. Obviously, we'll know if you send in an information that is false. We'll be able to know because we do not just only act on those information that people send. We do analysis, and if our analysis and the assessment proves that what you sent is just frivolous, we'll discard that one. But we also have our own operatives. The brother mentioned about the covert and overt methods of policing. All of our activities, all of our responses are informed by intelligence. And so we do not just jump into action. What we are doing currently is to tell those groups or those individuals that they think they could use either social media or engaging in certain activities to disrupt the peace and tranquility of Sierra Leone, to let them know that we know and we are watching them, and to encourage them that in their own interest and in the interest of the country we call theirs, which is the only country we have, Sierra Leone, they should desist from this. Because we have mentioned that development could only thrive where there is peace. And we will not endeavor to allow anybody to disrupt that much needed peace. As a country, we've gone through a lot. And so what we now need is to see a progressive Sierra.
Spokesman of the Office of National Security, Abdul Karim. The Deputy Minister of Labour and Social Security, Mohamed Lansana Doumbouya, who also doubles as the chairman of the Sierra Leone People's Party for Gambia District, has launched the Mohamed Tarawali Development Foundation, which is to serve as a charitable organization for community development exclusively across the Gambia District. Jonathan Turner was there and now reports.
Mohamed Lansana Doumbouya said that the foundation has been formed owing to the persistent calls for development, especially in the peripheral communities of Gambia districts. Health, quality education, reducing hunger, advancing infrastructural and socio-economic developments, he said, are the sectors founder of the foundation, Mohamed Tarawali, wants to embark on within the northwestern districts.
Since Mohamed Tarawali is coming from here, his foundation has been rendering assistance to several individuals within the chiefdom he hailed from, that's the Gile chiefdom. But today he wants to broaden the spectrum. He wants to extend his support. This is the lean season, this is the hungry season. And he's fully aware that not every individual within Sierra Leone has the ability to provide food on a daily basis. Because of this, he also wants to contribute to the dream of His Excellency, the realization of the dream that every individual must be food secured.
The foundation was established by a Sierra Leonean, Mohamed Tarawali, who is based in the United States of America, with a vision to provide livelihood support through agricultural projects, empowerment for women, youths and less privileged kids. The foundation, which is not for profit and stands against discrimination, intimidation and ethnicity, provided 200 bags of rice to cushion the economic constraints of some residents, which is a start to demonstrate commitment. This official launching of the Mohamed Tarawali Development Foundation attracted stakeholders of Gambia District. For SIBC News, Jonathan Turner reporting.
A book of condolence has been opened at the office of the Independent Media Commission, Sheikha Stephen Street, for prolific media guru Rod McJohnson, who died at the age of 75. As Emmanuel Samura reports, the ceremony, which was graced by friends, family and colleagues of the deceased, celebrated his contribution to the development of the media in Sierra Leone. We'll bring you highlights of the event.
The Book of Condolence was signed by Chairman of the IMC, SLAJ, Vets and Journalists Union, families, friends and other well-wishers. Sir Rod, as he was fondly called by friends, was known for his prolific writing skills, tinged with poetic devices to enrich his writings. Chairman of the Independent Media Commission, George Koyama, touchingly spoke about the qualities of Sir Rod as a colleague.
He was a great, distinguished journalist. I can give him credit for most of the journalistic skills I also learned from his writing. I read his article almost every time. And I gave a whole lot, sharpened my own skill in journalism. That's one experience I've got. Secondly, under his administration as chairman of this commission, 2011, 12, and 13, I was honored by this commission. Their yearly media award occasion. It was honored him. I was honored as one of the best journalists in this country.
The late man was easy to dismiss because he had this harmless demeanor about him and walks around as someone who will not harm a fly, so described by SLAC President Ahmed Said Nasrallah.
When Sandrock became the IMC commissioner, it was a good period, or a period of relief for most journalists in Sierra Leone. It is because he was not the bullying type of commissioner. Neither was he rash with his words. His speeches were always well crafted, and even if he wanted to send across a very strong message, it was carried in a non-offensive manner. During his reign as IMC chairman, he preferred calling journalists or editors himself to raise issues about the breaches of the IMC Media Code of Practice. He was patient enough to get the journalists to understand their mistakes, apologize, and move on.
Rod Claude Mac Johnson was a fine journalist born to Samuel and Elfrida Mac Johnson on 31st May 1945 in Freetown. As a media practitioner, he worked and held positions such as news editor, information officer, news controller, press secretary to both the late President Shaka Stevens and Vice President S.I. Kuruma, and lecturer at the Mass Communications Department for Abbey College. In 2011, he was chairman of the Independent Media Commission before he left for the United States of America, where he met his sudden demise in March of this year. He was also writer and correspondent for different international media. The commission gave a token to family members as a sign of appreciation for Sir Rod's related service to the commission.
You're watching News Hour on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation with me, David Patrick Mara. Let's now join the Sport Desk for the latest in sports.
Hello and welcome to Sports Updates. I am Jonathan Turner. In this edition, some citizens and sports administrators have called on governments to lift the ban on sporting activities in the country. It should be recalled that social gatherings, including sporting activities, were banned by countries when the COVID-19 pandemic struck. But the people who spoke to the SLBC believe that with a decline in infection rates of the coronavirus, sporting activities, especially employment-creating activities, should resume. Here is the report. In spite of some of the unfortunate realities of COVID-19, some measures have been lifted by the government to ease the tension on citizens and fixing the national economy. Some of these citizens therefore believe that since the government has lifted bans on the congregational worship, inter-district and national traveling with only about 2,000 cases compared to other countries, the ban on what generates income and enhance their physical activities is essential to be lifted. Martial Arts Ambassador Master Victor Edward Amara, for instance, said that it is high time the government took shared step.
I think it's necessary for the government to lift the ban on sports and disciplines, especially when you get sport like karate. And karate is divided into two championships, which is the kata and the kumite. And with the kata, it's not contact, it's not body contact. So I think karate should be practicing, and also table tennis, long tennis, golf. There are so many sports, squash, there are so many sports, cycling, there are so many swimming, there are so many sports that can be practiced that are not contact sports. And even the contact sport, if we're able to get the measures with a face mask and just certain rules and regulations, I think it's better that the government lift this ban up.
Assistant Secretary General of the Sierra Leone Handball Association, Anabi Yusuf Kamara, said the Ministry of Sports should find a way through consultations with NACOVAC and the Ministry of Health and Sanitation to restart sporting activities. Otherwise, preparations for future competitions by various associations are in jeopardy.
1 or 2 weeks, we've seen sporting activity being galvanized. So it is but necessary that also the Minister of Sport of Sierra Leone, Honorable Ibrahim Yelenke, look at it and see how it is feasible that all the restrictions are taken into account and we start doing something that people will say sporting activities. Because what is happening now, Sierra Leone is to play Nigeria in November. Even handball, we should have played in March. IHF has told us to put it on hold. But let's say maybe around November or December, the IHF asked that Sierra Leone Handball Association prepare a team. If we have not started training now, when shall we start?
Football administrator Sanfa Hassan Kamara shared similar sentiments with other citizens who have called on the government to relax some of the rules so that football will soon resume in the country.
Sporting bodies in general to kickstart the game, to start the game, but there is a guide as to how you go about it. So it is very important at this particular point in time for government also to think on the other side of the game, because athletes to survive, and it is only when the game is playing that is the time athletes will be able to get themselves at least what due them, or what at least to make them survive. This is very important for government to look at, especially in this economic trying time.
Amidst the band, some groups of people in their leisure time entertain themselves with the games they love in their localities. They claim they want to keep fit with shared exercise even with the coronavirus around.
Because I think exercising gives strength, you're supposed to be physical fit. I guess when you're physical fit, healthy, sickness has no space, to your body. I think this is one of the ways that you can help fight against the COVID-19.
These matches really sensitize us against this COVID-19, because although yes, they said public gathering, we should not play football, like in Sierra Leone, but I don't think that's the way, because it's not easy for this thing to pass through this thing. Because COVID-19, they said it can transfer as fast as possible, but for me, I don't think, although yes, it is real, but playing football does not make this thing act very fast.
Meanwhile, it is amid the current ban that the Confederation of Africa Football, CAF, has scheduled Leone Stars to play the Super Eagles of Nigeria in November this year. For SLBC News, Jonathan Turner reporting. This is all we have in this edition of Sports Updates. I am Jonathan Turner.
Well, from sport, let's move over to the entertainment desk for the latest in entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the entertainment news. I am Daphne Kimamakole. Today we're going to talk about traditional folk singer Fantasy Wiz, who has released a new music video titled Diara. Her music speaks to the soul in a revealing trait of African cultural orientation. In an industry dominated by other music genres like rap, Afrobeat, R&B, zouk, etc., Fantasy Wiz Kamara prefers sounds that bring the African people closer to their origins, sounds that define the true Sierra Leonean Africans.
Sometimes when we get into relationship, we never for a second anticipate that things might go wrong, or there are things that would happen along the line that would, be discomforting, and it would like be unforeseen. And sometimes when things go south, basically, we tend to forget that, at one point things were beautiful. It was rosy. I was looking forward to seeing this person, and that person was sort of like looking forward to see me. And we have all these butterflies and that sort of thing. But when it goes south, we tend to forget all of that, and then we get the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, the mental abuse, and all of those things. So
even though many might not find her music fashionable, she continues to seduce and induce in us the fine arts of folk music in Sierra Leone. For this, she will be remembered as one of Africa's greatest folk singers. This is according to Vortex Media. And now to the Big Brother Naija 2020. Ozo has become the head of house for the second time in 3 weeks. And guess what? He chose Nengi this time as his deputy. What will happen in that HOH lounge? But some people thought Dora would be hurt because of that decision by Ozo. She even shocked us by hugging Nengi. And I think some sanity will be restored in the house. After all, Biggie had described Kidwire as not fit for a good leader. Because actually during his era, 3 housemates were punished with strikes as very strong warning shots. Ozo and Nengi first night together in the exclusive lounge. There was a demarcation in their sleeping positions. Nengi is really keeping the distance from a very close range during the Ozone week. Her decision could be placed